Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Mark. In the course of his teaching, Jesus said to the crowds, "Beware of the scribes who like to go around in long robes and accept greetings in the marketplaces, seats of honor in synagogues, and places of honor at banquets. They devour the houses of widows and, as a pretext, recite lengthy prayers. They will receive a very severe condemnation." He sat down opposite the treasury and observed how the crowd put money into the treasury. Many rich people put in large sums. A poor widow also came and put in 2 small coins worth a few cents. Calling his disciples to himself, he said to them, "Amen, I say to you, this poor widow put in more than all the other contributors to the treasury, for they have all contributed from their surplus wealth, but she, from her poverty, has contributed all she had, her whole livelihood." The Gospel of the Lord.
And so in our own particular day and in our own particular time, the reality of perfectionism makes itself known and manifested in many different ways. Now, the goal of the human life, the reason that we have been created by God, is in fact for us to become, through God's grace and His example, to become as perfect as we can. The reason we have been brought into the world and the mission that the Lord has provided for each and every one of us in our own particular way is to perfect the world around us through God's love and through His message. Perfectionism in this particular way, seeking to follow God as closely as we can, seeking to perfect the world in the way that God had designed it originally, this kind of perfectionism is always and everywhere good. However, within our limited human understanding, within our imperfect human desires and hopes, perfectionism oftentimes, and perhaps even more often than not, it is aimed at something that is less than what the Lord would desire for us. Perfectionism in our own lives, it is aimed at something that is not true. It is aimed at something that ultimately does not fulfill the human soul. How many of us, when we receive a text message, spend time really thinking about the perfect way to respond? Spend minutes and minutes, sometimes hours, looking for the perfect witty comeback, looking for the perfect quip. And when we finally get it, we send that message to the other individual, thinking, "Aha, I've got him this time." And yet, when we meet with that same person on a one-on-one basis, we find that our words are somewhat awkward. We find that we don't have the same ability that we would like to present. We don't have the same capability of communication as what we originally thought. Even more so now with the advent of social media, How many of us spend hours and hours taking different versions of the same kind of picture of ourselves? Looking for the right filter, looking for the right light, looking for the right angle. We post those pictures, and yet when we look at ourselves in the mirror, it is, in fact, entirely different. Perfectionism, in and of itself, it is not either bad nor good. The way that we find whether these types of perfectionism are for our health or to our detriment is to see where is it aimed? What is the goal? If the goal is to follow the Lord, to bring a greater love and mercy to those around us, that kind of perfectionism, again, is always acceptable to God. But if our perfectionism seeks to inflate our own ego, if our own perfectionism seeks to manifest or present a false self to those around us, and we even try to convince ourselves that we are more than what we are, because it is a lie, there is nothing good that can come out of that. Because it is not aimed at following the Lord or at speaking the truth, this kind of a perfectionism will always be destructive. It will always be confusing. Now, why do I bring up all these examples in our daily life of what perfectionism is, how it presents itself, how it manifests itself? Today, we read in the Gospel of how the Lord sat in the temple square and witnessed so many of the people of God approaching the temple and offering what they had to God and to His worship. This particular event in the Gospels is one that is well known by us. We know that in the end, the widow, with her 2 small coins, receives the praise and admiration of God Himself, instead of the rich men who came with bags and bags of golden coins and jewels. Perfectionism, oftentimes in our human life, oftentimes it is a cover for either one of 2 things. Perfectionism can be a cover for our pride or our laziness. Oftentimes, when we desire to begin a project, or if a project is placed upon us, how many times do we say, no, not right now. It's not the right time. Things aren't lined up exactly the way I want it. This isn't the way I want to do it. In perfectionism, in our pride, we believe that if the project in and of itself does not come out completely and totally exact, that ends up being a reflection of our character. It can also be that because we like to place these sort of false parameters where we like to say, oh, this isn't exactly the way I'd like it. It's not the right time. I haven't really put that much thought into it just yet. Perhaps in our laziness, we are attempting to push off the project, hoping that the right time will come where it will be easiest for us. With the widow who approaches the Lord in the temple and offers her 2 small coins, this most holy woman, she does not suffer from perfectionism, at least from a human perfectionism. This most holy woman, she knows who she is, she knows her situation, and regardless, she approaches God with everything she has. She approaches the Lord in complete honesty, in complete vulnerability. And through her small action of love and of generosity, tells the Lord, I love you, O God. This is all I have, but it is completely and totally yours. For ourselves, we would do well to receive and imitate the example of this most holy woman. Although in many ways we know and feel that we are lacking, if we do not take at least that first step in faith and hope to approach God, saying to Him, Lord, these are my good attributes that you have gifted to me. Lord, these are my faults and my vices, which I would hope you would help me to overcome. Regardless, it is all I have. It is all yours. Help me, O Lord, to make it into something better. Help me, O Lord, to transform these 2 small coins into my opportunity to receive your most holy and wonderful gifts. Lord, transform these 2 small coins into the infinite riches of heaven. Today, my friends, that we would no longer wait for the right time or the right way to approach the Lord. That we would no longer push off the opportunities that God gives us to approach Him, to share with Him. Most especially, that we would no longer wait to receive from God the most perfect gifts of the sacraments, especially baptism, confession, and the Eucharist. That we would, like this most holy widow, offer everything we have to God, knowing and believing that He would accept it, and that He would, in His infinite power and love, transform it into something that we could not even begin to imagine.